Today I'm joined by two gentlemen. I've got Shingirai, Emmanuel, Muponde. I got your name right today, so
Today you got it right.
And then I've got our sports analyst, that is Francis Nyamutsamba. Good morning, mate.
Morning, Innocent.
All right, today we've got a lot in store, a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the youth games. That's our main focus. And we're going to move on to the state of our stadiums as well as the Ashes that's on. But today, let's focus on the youth games. Now, the youth games were inaugurated in 2003 in Bulawayo as part of a national strategy to for talent identifications. And it seems like it has succeeded at some extent. We've got the likes of Onismo Basera, Chikoko, as well as Alexandra Maseko as part of those people that were identified at the youth games. But gentlemen, today is a bit different. Let's look at the state of infrastructure at the youth games. I'll start with you, Slim. Is it adequate for talent identification?
To be honest, the state of our infrastructure is really bad. We do not really have infrastructure that is good in Zimbabwe, so it makes it hard for the organizers to find a place where they can really host these games, where you'd expect that the infrastructure will be great. But particularly here, the youth games sometimes are not taken as seriously as they are supposed to. They just look for a venue so as to be in each and every province, and that then creates a problem where maybe they might have one good sports field, maybe for soccer, and then they'll have the other disciplines having to make do with what is there.
Yeah, Francis, the president, Comrade Emmanuel Mnangagwa, officially commissioning the games, that shows some seriousness, doesn't it?
Definitely, it does show some seriousness. We look back at the main initiative behind the launching of the games. As you rightfully highlighted, back in 2003, they wanted to develop the young players, expose them to top competition, because you find athletes coming from various provinces and competing at this stage. So definitely the president gracing the occasion, the official opening of these games, proves the fact that as government they are taking them seriously. So it is important to try and build going forward and try and capitalize on this platform, the youth game, so that we develop talent.
All right, what more needs to be done? We talked about infrastructure. What more needs to be done, Francis, to make sure that, one, this is sustainable, two, we're getting the right talent?
Well, I think it goes back to the preparation side of it from a provincial perspective. They need to take time in terms of nurturing these athletes, not at an under 16, under 18, under 20 level, but going down and beginning to prepare these athletes from an age as young as 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, going forward at provincial level, as opposed to trying to bring them together when they're 15, 16, 17, 18. So there is the need to have a broader look at how we prepare our athletes in the run-up to when they're in their teens. But just looking at the youth games themselves, the fruits that you highlighted, some of the athletes that have come out of the games. You also look at the netball gems. All the players, save for one, went through the youth games. It does highlight the fact that these youth games are vitally important in terms of trying to develop, trying to nurture our athletes.
Yeah, Slim, the games being hosted, I hear that organizers have slashed the number of participants to increase competition. Do you have that view, or we're losing some talent somewhere there?
For me, the model of the games is fundamentally wrong for me. They are too centralized. You have too many disciplines trying to be fit in to one single occasion, one single sporting spectacle. And for me, that is a bit problematic. Because as you see, you have to make do, certain disciplines will have to make do with what is there. For example, if you want to develop a world-class athlete, they have to run within the right turf, not run in one of those grass fields where they can wear whatever shoes that they are wearing. That then becomes a problem. So for me, even though they rebranded, and again, they've combined them into youth games and Para-Olympic games, again, I know it's the money, trying to ensure that at least these take place. But for me, then you are trying to do too much in a very short space of time. For me, you would have athletics being done on their own, ball games being done on their own, field games being done on their own. And that allows for talent to actually get the chance and be nurtured, and people having one eye on one side of the sporting field.
Well, reduction of numbers, I think, had more to do with resource issues. Remember, the last games that occurred, it was quite an issue in terms of the resources that were available for the games. So I don't really think it was about trying to enhance the competition. It was more to do with resources.
With resources. And having said, you heard what Slim said, that maybe having one sport discipline at a time, is that feasible?
Well, this is a multidisciplinary competition. The concept is a concept. Say we have the African Games coming up in Morocco in September. The same concept is there in other countries, but I think at the end of the day, it has to do with trying to find partners that bankroll these games so that they are a success. The concept in itself isn't a bad concept in my view. Having multidisciplinary sporting events occurring at the same time, having your athletics, your football, your tennis, your basketball, boxing, etc. The idea in itself isn't a bad idea, but it's a matter of trying to find partners that can come in and support this event so that it's a success.
All right, Slim, you talked about the Paralympic Games also being held in conjunction with the Youth Games. Is this a good move?
Well, there is need for our Paralympians to have an opportunity to fine-tune their preparations because they have games in Morocco in January which are going to serve as qualifiers for the Paralympics that are going to occur. So they needed a platform, and this was a great opportunity. Basically, the sporting disciplines are already there, so our Paralympians can just slot in. And the way that it was organized is in such a way that both events can occur, because you have like a first slot in which I think it's the youth that will start, then eventually the second week, then you slot in the other and the Paralympians. So they needed the preparation, and again, this was a discipline. If the track is there and others, the youth are using it, I think the Paralympians could as well use them.
Francis, we talked about the state of infrastructure in Zimbabwe. Maybe not looking at the youth games. Let's just look at sporting infrastructure. Let's look at our stadiums. Right now, if you go to Rufaro Stadium, I don't think it's in any state to host an international match. Gwanzura Stadium has been closed for close to 3 years now. You've got Vingere Stadium that was condemned by the PSL. Where are we getting it wrong? Is our model wrong? Should these stadiums be run by council, or should be run by clubs? Or maybe clubs should build their own stadiums. Is that feasible?
Well, I do think that local authorities have a lot to do in terms of trying to enhance, trying to improve the facilities. You talked about Rufaro Stadium. Yes, they said that they did an upgrade, but a lot still needs to be done. You go to Gwanzura Stadium, it's still way below par. Even the National Sports Stadium that we label as the giant National Sports Stadium is way behind. I did attend the Africa Cup of Nations, just getting an opportunity of going to the Cairo International Stadium, the June 30 stadium. There's a world of difference, Innocent. You look at Rufaro Stadium, where is the media supposed to be seated? Are there even ports where the media can place their laptops? The facilities really need an upgrade, a serious upgrade, which we're talking about the bucket seating system. Most of our stadiums, nothing is there. But we also have to give credit to organizations such as Zimplatz, Mandava Stadium, in a reasonably good state, though the Confederation of African Football did not give a green light for Mandava to be used. You also look at the Baobab Stadium. Yes, Zimplatz did some work in terms of coming up with the Baobab Stadium, but from a local authority's point of view, they have to do a lot in terms of trying to upgrade our facilities.
Slim, the Harare City Council has said that it's going to come up with a state-of-art stadium in the High Glen area. Noting that they're having difficulty with Banzura Stadium and Rufaro Stadium, what should be the focus here? Or the stadiums that are already there, or the new stadiums?
I think the stadiums that are already there are going to be difficult to refurbish into the modern kind of stadiums that are needed. For me, the issue is both on the clubs and the local authorities.
Yes.
The clubs themselves cannot continue to depend on someone else's stadium. It means that they're losing revenue because every time they have to hire, and sometimes they're making a loss instead of making profit due to that. So the clubs themselves should build a new model of running a club, which includes developing their own training facilities and developing their own stadium in which they can actually profit from. Because the stadium is not just a sporting stadium. There are other events that can be hosted there, and that money would be used to improve a club. So the issue here for me is we need new stadium. I know the authority did say they want to build a new stadium, and I'm skeptical. I only believe when the plans have started. But given the stadia that we have, because the problems are really rudimentary, like drainage. If our stadiums do not have adequate drainage, that requires a lot of money to actually do, rather than building just a new stadium which has already been made on a surface that drains better. So I hope that if they're going to do it, they'll do it right and create stadiums that are proper. You have talked about the Zimplats and the stadium that they have actually been building. They should build stadium that they'll know that if any inspector comes, they'll be like, no, this is a modern stadium. This is what we're building towards. Let's move away from building those old-fashioned stadiums that will raise the eyebrow. Yes, it's a stadium, but we need to make sure that it meets the standard. For the media, the dressing rooms